But
And you were 13 at this time?
like 13, 14, something like that.
Okay.
And it's like, instead of them saying what's actually wrong with the young fella, they wanted to put me on medication, they wanted to label me, they wanted to give me all these diagnoses. I ain't have a learning disability. I came from a community that had no resources. I came from a lifestyle that my mother got high every day and she made me do certain things I wasn't supposed to do as a child.
Yeah.
So I needed support to get those things out of me. Another thing that people don't talk about, UFC just was global and famous on a high level, right? But it been underground fights for years, and it still go on now. I was one of those kids in Baltimore where they got underground fighting for kids, and I was a champion fighter for kids. You feel what I'm saying? My mother used to make me fight in these underground fights. If no matter if it was alleys, backyards, basements, no matter the weight class, how old, young kids fighting against other neighborhood kids for money. So imagine you down there, it's like, you know how they fight pit bulls or chickens and stuff? Yeah. That's how they are. It's underground, you know what I'm saying? No weight class. You betting on this child or that young fella against him from his hood, his community, you bet not lose. My mother would grab my hand and tell me, you bet not lose. Not no love, not no kiss, you bet not lose. We need this money. She looked at you like, you feel what I'm saying? You bet not lose. So for a long period of my young years, I fought every single day for survival, and I fought for money and food, for my family. And things like that, people don't talk about. And I feel like those are certain levels of traumas that people live through. But on the platform of the world, we don't give people spaces to come out and speak on it. Because you make them feel weird, or they don't feel comfortable, or they feel like they can't talk about them, or they're supposed to be a secret. Yeah. I lived through it. You feel what I'm saying? So when I went with my aunt, and she had to get me the tutoring, the mentoring, reading the Bible, the therapy, all these things. One thing I tell her I love her for is, no matter what I put her through, she will always tell me, Wesley, you can be great. You can be successful, but you got to put that work in, and I'm not going to give up on you. You feel me? So when you say things I've been through, going back to my childhood, I don't even really look at my childhood as a childhood. I ain't never really have a childhood where I had a lot of toys and Christmases and having fun and big birthdays. You feel me? Like, my childhood was survival. My childhood was drug addict parents. My childhood was lights cut off. My childhood was not knowing where your next meal coming from. My childhood was no hot running water. We washed up in cold showers or boiled water on the stove. My childhood was extension cords from the back window from our neighbor's house. We shared the BG&E bill, extension cords to have electricity because we couldn't afford it. My childhood was selling drugs at a young age for survival because that's what's normal. My childhood was, fighting every day to make money and put that food on the table, and looking at another young fella across me and thinking he my enemy and he gonna take that food from me if I don't almost kill him in that ring. You feel what I'm saying? So when I'm talking about a childhood, that's what I'm from. So when I'm so passionate about the things that I do for these kids and these families and the communities in Baltimore, I do it because I know what I'm from, what I lived through. And I know a lot of people live in these same stories, but they don't speak about it. Either they don't have a platform, they don't have the courage, or they feel like they're going to be called weird or labeled some type of stigma or something.
Exactly.
I want to give people the comfortability and the platform and the mindset. No, your trauma, your aces, and the pain that you've lived through, you can speak on those. That's your story.